Hi guys, welcome to Let Loose with Lou. We are recording part 2 of our last episode, which is codependency. We spoke a little bit about parents and how far do you coddle your children, right? In a sense of way, and when is enough, correct?
That's right. We did a great episode on codependency with our children and parenting and what are those fine lines. It was a great conversation. It
It really
was a
was.
great conversation. And
And
today
that's
we're
what
doing a part 2.
And we're doing a part 2, guys, because it was that good. And, I have a lot of questions too, because, sometimes we don't know when is enough. And, I did give a little bit of scenario with my daughter, how, at what point do well, it's not even that if I release her, because, I mean, she's able to go at any time, but how to just, you know, just start living. Like,
Right.
go. And so just to recap a little bit, so it's not like she does not pay anything at home. She does pay the electricity and the water. So I gave her a little bit of responsibility. I gave her that bill. So she takes care of the water and the electricity because while she's there, I'm like, you should be responsible to pay something. But I don't charge her any rent. But I just feel that she is at age where she needs to be a woman and go on her own adventure.
That's right. Spread her wings and fly.
Yes, because
Yeah.
she is capable.
That's right.
But I really want to touch a subject of even in relationships. I notice that sometimes there's either women or men that depend on their
Partner.
partners so much.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I know of a person, a friend that was married to her husband for many years, and he did not want her to work. And so she didn't work. And he expected her to cook, clean, watch the kids. And when those kids grew up, he was like, "Fuck you, I'm out of here. I'm gone. Peace out. Thank you for everything." And I was like, "What the fuck happened?" Right? And basically his analogy to this was, "Oh, once the kids turn 18, I don't have to pay her child support." And he left.
Mm.
And I was like, she was left like clueless, no job, and lost. So how do you prepare a person to not get into that bind? Like,
Well, my question is first is like you said she's lost now.
she is.
What is that? What do you mean when you say she's
Well,
lost?
lost because she didn't educate herself because she was so involved with educating and helping her kids,
Mhm.
through school. And all she knew was just to take care of the household. I mean, there's nothing, I mean, her whole life was built around her family. Everything, cooking and cleaning and washing and, taking the kids to sports, taking, the kids to school. That's, I mean,
So I'm not sure that I would say this is a good example of codependence. I think
mm,
it's a good example of, for whatever reason, this couple fell out of love and they had certain defined agreements that were going to happen. Like he was going to be the earner and she was going to stay at home and care for the children. And then something happened and
mhm,
their relationship ended. Why I asked about it being
mhm,
lost is like there can be codependency in like the
mhm,
lost part, right?
yeah.
So
Well, I know I say codependent because she didn't have a job and she depended, of course, financially through him.
What's interesting though is a lot of people consider that a great situation. I mean, there are tons of couples who, if the husband has a good job and he's affluent, that's their agreement, and they go through life with that agreement, and that actually works. Unfortunately, like you said, if the guy walks away, there are presumably protections in place like alimony, like half the property, things like that, so that the woman's not left destitute. But I can understand what you mean when you say that she feels like she's like she has no ability to get a job because she's been, just a mother for all these years.
Well, the funny thing is that he had already been building his scheme. So he knew how to sell everything he had, or
He had an exit
he
strategy that he was
totally had,
doing, and she
yes,
and she really was unaware of that.
Yeah,
totally
which is
unaware. So
unfortunate.
and so yes, it is super unfortunate because she's a great person, and it's so sad because now she's trying to rebuild herself, and she doesn't know how to rebuild herself emotionally. She doesn't know how to rebuild herself financially because she's not educated. Like, she's educated, but not to a point to where you need to have a job to support yourself nowadays. So it's so sad because you see her struggling. And
So I think that's maybe we can explore this, maybe some hypotheticals, right?
all right.
So I'm gonna remind you guys. So codependency is
Mm.
in relationship when we're doing something for our partner that they could be doing for themselves, and it's habitual.
Like, she was cooking for him, washing his clothes, cleaning and making his bed, folding his clothes. She did it.
Maybe, but not necessarily. Maybe, but not necessarily. These can be agreed
Mhm,
upon roles
Yeah, I
that,
think
that
there
the
was a role.
couple decides that they're gonna do, right? And it doesn't necessarily need to be that it's codependent. I'm gonna give you an example of what this of so for this
mhm,
situation, what I think we should hone in on, Lou,
mhm,
is the emotional quality of the relationship,
mhm,
right? So here's like a practical example. Um, let's say one of the partners is afraid to go to Target to just go and get the groceries or the toilet paper, right? And they say, "Hey, like, can you come with me? I just don't like going there by myself. Come with me. I feel really nervous about it. Like I might fall down. It'll be humiliating. Or like there's bad guys out there and they're hanging out at Target. I just know it. And I need you to come with me, right? So that would be a form of codependency if that partner said, "Okay, I can go with you," even though that partner might have to, I don't know, go to work or have some other commitment. Like, hey, I promised my friend that I would come over at this time, and they bail, right? That's a
mhm,
kind of a codependent thing. That spouse should be able to go to Target as an adult, manage their anxiety about whatever
mhm,
they're going to fall in the store, and be able to do that, but they can't. And so they're asking this partner to come with them to
mhm,
essentially offset their emotional discomfort, right?
mhm,
Understand?
mhm,
Versus like, so a healthy partner might say, I'm not doing that for you,
mhm,
right? Like, I love you, I get that you're afraid of this, but like, you're gonna have to figure this one out,
mhm.
right? Or interdependent might look like this. So interdependent, if you remember from the last episode, if you watched it, is really basically it means good teamwork. It
Mhm,
means that we help each other out. So interdependence might be like, hey, you know what? I ran by and I the dry cleaner, and I picked up the dry clean for the, yeah. So now you have your dress, and I
mhm,
got my suit for the wedding this weekend. It's all done. You don't have to worry about it, right? Or like, hey,
mhm.
I went to Target on the way home. I remember you saying that we needed some toilet paper and paper towels. I went in there and got it for
Mhm.
us,
Yeah, teamwork,
right?
correct.
Or hey, I'm not gonna be able to get over there. The kids' homework it's more than I thought. The soccer practice went long. Do you think you could shoot over to Target? And I say, yeah, 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 sure. This is an example of interdependence,
Yes.
right? So maybe if we can take these definitions and kind of go back to this friend of yours,
Mhm,
right? Where maybe she lost her way in the relationship, right? And became codependent, right? Like maybe that would look like, I don't know who I am without him.
mm,
I
yeah.
don't know I don't know what to do with my life if it's not in marriage. I've just spent all this time doing this with him, and now he's gone, and she
Well,
doesn't,
she
and
did
she
feel
lost her
that
right.
way.
Right. So one of the telltale signs of like real codependency is loss of identity,
Mhm.
right? Where you don't know who you are because you've been accommodating
That
another person
person.
in a way that's unhealthy,
Mhm.
right? So
True.
I think a lot of people can, maybe not all, but a lot of people who are out there can attest, right? You've had an
Mhm,
experience where you had a really bad breakup,
mhm.
right? And the breakup was so bad because not only did it suck because you loved the person, but because you didn't know who you were anymore. You did all these things to try to please this person, vie for their love, be affirmed that they love you, and it became so habituated that it was you became codependent upon getting these affirmations, getting these compliments, or knowing that you were safe, or that you were loved, and you lose your way,
True.
right? And this can happen to someone who, let's say, it can be something very practical, like they loved going to the gym or playing tennis or something, and their partner had a problem with
Mhm.
that, and then so they surrendered that sport.
Got it, yeah. Yeah, I to me, I just felt bad because she is lost and she needs to now find herself, and I feel that she is trying to just find a relationship with someone else because she's so used to being with someone.
Right, so your gift to you as a friend is to maybe tell her that, right? It's like, sure, you could go and find some new, like, tall, dark, and handsome to date, and that might be fun and cool. But what will be really cool is she's basically saying that she doesn't know who she is, and she needs to re-identify
Mhm,
who she is. What is her name? What is she like? What is she not like? You know,
mhm.
is she religious or spiritual? Doesn't care. Is she like sports or music? You know, like she has a lot of identity things that like becoming independent.
Yeah, but after so many, can you imagine being married for 30 years, or so? And then it's just not knowing what happened, just like, bye, I'm done. Like, I got as far as I could with you, you know.
Yeah, I can empathize with that. That's a whopper, right? Like
Yeah.
that's like a big bomb and betrayal of sorts and an
Mhm,
abandonment of sorts. But she's still gonna have to own her life and kind of go, okay, this guy's gone. It's toast, and I'm gonna need to become independent within myself
mhm.
again. You know,
Yeah.
my own life.
Solomon saying yes.
Well, I was just thinking that's almost like a separate part of it. I mean, you have to deal with the actual breakup, where you go through that whole reasoning stage. And some people call it, the multiple stages of grief or whatever. But, going through that, trying to understand and all of that. But eventually you have to come to some level of acceptance and say, okay, this has happened. Now where am I and who am I and how do I want to move
Right.
forward? It's almost like part one, and then what you're talking about is like part two now.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like this man is not responsible for my life. I'm responsible for my life. It's over, and I now need to make meaning of who I am and what I'm going to do independently of him or anybody else.
Mhm.
Right. So I would say, like for her, it would be premature to start dating.
Yeah.
She'll just be prone to making the same error.
Right.
And that's what I said. I said, you can't just get into a relationship, just because you're afraid of being alone. Like you need to like know who you are. Like get up and take a
Hmm.
trip by yourself,
Hmm.
take a drive, go eat dinner on your own, go have breakfast, have a cup of coffee,
Right.
anything. Just like reinvent
Explore.
yourself, explore who you are.
Right.
And a lot of people tend to have a problem with that.
So I have a problem with it, and I'll tell
Do
you,
you
as
really?
a therapist,
Yes.
when I get the ripe opportunity to
Mhm,
deal with someone in a breakup, one of the
mhm,
things I say, "Listen, man, you're in charge of yourself." You know, some relationships you may find yourself more serious. Other relationships you may find yourself more kind of humorous, right? More dominant, more submissive. And the next point, who is it that you were attracted to? What did you like and not like? And by doing that exercise, you really can. This is like no bullshit.
mhm,
You can change what you will be attracted to next and
mhm.
upgrade yourself so that you're upgraded individually, independently, and you're attracting a partner that has more of the bells and whistles that you want versus what you just got done having. Right? But that takes time. And when people just jump to dating, it's dumb luck. And if this is Vegas, the chances are they will repeat the
Or in a
same
bar.
pattern.
Like, I don't believe in meeting someone in a bar. Like, what are you really getting off of meeting someone in a bar?
I
I
mean, a lot of people find their partners in a bar.
I don't I don't know. I personally, I think, I mean, it is nice to meet people, but I think there's a lot of other places you can meet people that's a little more genuine, not when you're drinking. You know what I'm saying? Like, cuz your emotions are at a whole different level.
It's true. And your energy is at a different level, right? Like
Totally.
people act differently when they're intoxicated.
Mhm.
And depending on how intoxicated you are, people actually will look different than they actually are when you see them sober.
Exactly. Solomon
Well,
says
I don't drink, but by the same token, I would imagine some people relax when they go to a bar and you actually see the real person,
yeah.
just depending if they're there with their friends or whatever. But I mean, it's I know you mentioned the bar, but it's sort of part of the same thing in that, like you said, they don't need to be trying to go and get a relationship because basically what they're trying to do is get to that same level of comfort they were before because they don't want to face the cold. They don't want to face the reality of I have to start over. And so they're hoping to get lucky to think, let me find some guy who's good enough, just enough like him that, I can just go back into this and not have to start over.
Yeah,
And
but you're
yeah,
not
and the
doing
Yeah, so
bar is
I,
so.
part of
I think
that.
this is a good segue to something I want to talk about,
Mhm,
which is I would like to talk a little bit about codependency
mhm.
with partners who have addiction,
Yes.
and I would like to talk about what Solomon is starting to bring in is codependency also like substances is about changing how you feel,
Mhm,
right? So in my treatment center, a lot of the work when we're dealing with folks in early recovery is helping them to understand that alcohol or cocaine or whatever the substance
mhm,
was used to help them change the way they felt about a situation, right? In a way that's not healthy versus dealing with the feeling as it is. Or like
mhm,
what I was saying in this relationship is this is done now, right? And like let's say an addicty or alcoholic thing to do in normal relationships is well, I don't want to be alone. I don't want to feel um rejected. So I'm going to change the way I feel by finding a new partner
mhm.
versus actually dealing with those feelings and those experiences and getting all the gold and the juice out of it so that you don't make the same mistake again. Right. So I would like to kind of move, into like how I see this with addiction.
Let's move and do it.
Keep it loose.
Yes,
Just
let's
keep it
get
loose. Keep it
loose.
loose.
Let's keep it
Let's
loose.
live here. No, but yeah, like so what the same rules apply, right? Where many people, right? I think it's very, very common have partners who struggle with addiction,
Yes.
and a lot of times what you see with those partners is
And just
they
to make it clear, addiction could be any type of addiction. It could be sexual addiction, it could be drug addiction, it could be pill popping
right,
addiction, it could be alcohol addiction, it could be an emotional addiction,
right.
right?
It could be yeah, exactly. It could be pornography, it could be spending, it could be alcohol, it could be cocaine, it could be any number of things. Gambling,
Gambling is a big one.
right?
Mhm.
And so partners do these different things to make the relationship work,
Yes.
right? So examples of like let's say codependence would be we're going to drinks with friends, right? And the one partner knows they have a drinking problem and they do one of these. Hey, if I start and have, too many, just tell me I'm having too many and I'll stop, right? But you be in charge
Yeah, yeah, of
if
me,
I'm
yeah.
having too much,
Mhm, mhm,
right?
mhm.
Not a good strategy.
No.
Or the partner starts to do that and saying, "Hey, I think you've had enough."
Mhm.
Right? And it's not something for you to do. It's for the partner to be able to do on their own,
Yes.
right? They need to be able to do it on their own. Or there's these excuse making,
Mhm.
right? Or like, hey, you got a DUI. Well, I don't know. That cop was a real dick. I'll pay for it. I'll pay for it, and we'll get this expunged somehow. I mean, it's not your fault, right? It's just some cop in a bad mood,
Yeah.
right? And they make these
Excuses.
excuses, right?
Yes.
Or hey, this is the last time, right? Okay, fine. You could go ahead and bet the horses. Here's the money.
Mhm.
You know,
And a lot of people do live with so many excuses instead of just being able to admit, like, "Hey, I fucked up," or "I did this wrong," or, "It won't happen again." But how many people say it doesn't happen again and they keep doing it over and over and over again? At what point is enough enough?
so this one really, because we're talking about codependency, is really for that person, right? So it's very easy to uh, make glaring the person's addiction, right? Oh my god, they're tripping over themselves. Oh my god, they got into a fight again. Look at them, they're crazy,
Mhm.
right? It's easy to do that. But for this episode is about saying, no, no, no. You know who's maybe more crazy? You,
Mhm.
because you keep signing up for it.
Yeah.
You keep saying, okay, he didn't really mean that. Okay, well, it was Friday night. Okay,
It's
well,
excuse after
it's not
excuse.
that it's not that much money, right? Meanwhile, they're destroying themselves
Mhm.
and the codependent person is getting destroyed too, and
Totally.
they're going crazy. And
Yes.
so it's a really big move. It's no different, really. It's not than the alcoholic saying, you know what, I can't keep drinking. I got to go to treatment. It's the same thing when the codependent says, you know what, I love you, but I can't be in this relationship anymore because I'm going nuts.
But you know what's funny about that? It's that that person that knows that they're destroying themselves know how to make it up with their partner. So they'll go to either a male or female, whoever and whichever. I'll just use an example. A male will know that he is destructive, right? But he knows that his partner loves the finer things in life. So what do? They start purchasing them cars and
Nice gifts.
nice gifts and perfumes and and that. Oh, well, you know what? He is really sorry. Look at the new bag that I'm carrying, but it's like, no, that's how he diverts his bad behavior, to be acceptable.
Right, right. And I would say that that addict maneuver is called manipulation, right? We
Totally.
call that manipulation. And here's what's kind of a trip is this, by and large, I think that the codependent
Mhm.
at some level
Mhm.
also knows it's a manipulation
Mhm.
and they're just letting it be a band-aid, right? Like
Totally.
my partner has a drinking
Mhm.
problem and the band-aid's going to be this new expensive purse. And it'll be my little band-aid distraction until, this happens again. And this
Yeah.
pattern goes on and
And on
on.
because it never ends. This
Right.
person will be fine for 2 or 3 months or whatever the amount of time, acts up, makes a fool out of themselves, out of their partner, and then, it's an embarrassment. It's a huge embarrassment, right? Like, who's gonna wanna be in that? I don't wanna be in
Right.
a
And so those
relationship.
real
Yeah.
conversations get to look like, and I've seen this I've conducted them in the therapy office, and friends and family members have done this for, long, long time, I'm sure, where they kind of go, what the fuck's going on with you?
Yeah. It's
And they're
crazy.
like, well, no, I got, he said he was sorry. He got me a bag.
Mhm.
And be like, is that the
Yeah.
plan?
Yeah, like,
Is the
it's
plan that for you
yeah,
just to collect purses
purses or
while
perfumes.
he drinks like this and says he's
Yeah.
sorry? Is that what your life's going to be about?
It's
Because it's
crazy.
because that's because I don't buy it.
Or worse, abuse, that'd be even worse, like hitting on her or something.
Oh god, that
Well,
would
you
be
see
even
that,
worse.
right? Where
Yeah.
there's like, physical violence when they're
And it's
intoxicated
like, "Oh, I didn't
and
know
then
what I
saying,
was
"Oh,
doing.
"You got
yeah.
me a
I was
bag."
blacked out."
Well, if
You're
you
like,
just wouldn't have said that one thing, I wouldn't have had to do this." Or like, "Hey, she was hitting on me, what do you want me to do? I'm a handsome guy." She was hitting on me and we got together.
yeah, I don't I feel bad because I see this happening a lot, and, and women are the same way, like, there's women I know women could overly drink too, and, there's always an excuse, I could say I wanna drink all I want, and I could sit there and blame my husband and say, "Oh, well, you made me drink," but those are just excuses that I would be making up,
Right. Right.
Some people just don't know how to take responsibility for themselves, and that's the hard part.
So that's it, right? So if you're the codependent, your journey is to be responsible for what you're doing is also cuckoo. And then at some point
Cuckoo for
you're gonna
Cocoa
have to
Puffs.
hold this partner to account and say, I'm holding you responsible for your behavior.
But
And
see,
when they have a tantrum, then welcome to Yankee Stadium. Now it's the big time of like, are you gonna stick or are you gonna go?
but when they manipulate, you know what's gonna happen. That's the sad thing, and that's where it comes down to where my friend was manipulated for so many years because she dealt with all that, and everything was given to her to stay in that situation.
Are you saying she had a bad relationship then?
I wouldn't say I didn't think she had one because I didn't know what her husband's intentions were.
My guess listening to this is that she naively gave away her identity until there was nothing left of her.
Mhm,
And by about that time, her kids were of adult age and he was not in love with her and they ended for whatever reason,
mhm.
but that she lost her identity in the role of wife trying to please or and create this life and she forgot who she was.
Mhm.
and that's what her work will be about, is remembering who she is and
And she
rebuilding an
took
identity.
pride. She took pride of
Probably did a
cleaning
great
and
job.
cooking.
Bet
Yeah,
she did a great job.
yeah. And I don't know. I mean, I feel bad for her because, I mean, nowadays you need some kind of curriculum to get a decent job, and it's not like rent's, cheap out there. So, I feel bad for them.
So what's the moral of the story, guys? The moral of the story is, in relationships, right? Ideally, you have an interdependent one with your partner in which you guys help each other out. You're two independent people who are great teammates, and you're not codependent where you're doing things for your partner that are inappropriate. For example, like I was saying earlier, like a partner who's afraid to go to Target to go buy the stuff because they're afraid something's going to be bad, it's going to happen, right? Like that person needs to be able to figure out how to do that. Like these kind of not managing fears and having the partner have to kind of come in to offset that is unhealthy, right? Or like in addiction, right? Like
Mhm.
if you're codependent, you're going to have to take responsibility for that. You're also doing something that's very
Mhm.
dysfunctional and continuing to excuse the behavior. And the goal is to hold that partner to account with all that gunfire and then decide, right? Do you trust that this person can do the about face and change and become sober? Or is this relationship toast and it's time to save yourself?
I think nowadays, yeah, you need to save yourself. It's not like how it was 50 years ago, right? Like we grew up in an era where we saw our fathers take care of our mothers because our mothers took the time to raise us and school us, right? And nurture us. But nowadays it's not like that. Like both parents have to work. If you're not working, you're blessed, you're lucky. I mean, like
It's a real blessing.
you don't have to depend on your partner,
Right.
right? You don't have to depend, but if you have to depend on your partner, it's like
Well, I don't know where you guys are where you're listening, but I would say certainly in the state of California, it's very expensive, and chances are you got to have both partners working
mhm,
to, pay for everything in a state like this. Maybe
totally.
somewhere else you could have one earner and the other one can be home, but that's difficult.
It
It's a
is
different
very
time.
difficult. It's
It's a
not
different time.
it's not the way it used to be years ago, and that's why a lot of families are either breaking up or parents are stressed, mothers are stressed, kids are having issues, and there's no more teamwork in families anymore. See that, and it's sad.
Could be a good episode
It might be just
to
a
discuss
good
like how
episode
do you create kind of loving, committed teamwork in a marriage or in a family,
in
like
California because California sucks. I
so
mean, it's a beautiful
We love
sta I know,
California.
I love California, but it just sucks because you can't raise a family here.
it's a little
Ugh,
expensive. A
it's
little
too
expensive out here.
expensive. It's sad. But,
So
yeah, that was a really good topic. I really enjoyed that we had one-on-one about, these topics. 'Cause it's very important, and unfortunately, we see this out there where there's a lot of marriages falling and, either the woman depended on the man too much or the man depended on the woman, and the woman took off because she was tired of the man depending on her too much, and vice versa. But anyways, guys, we're gonna go ahead and let you guys go. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you guys have any questions for Steve,
yeah, put your questions, your comments, your likes on it. It lets us know more of like the answers to your pain points and things that you
yes,
want to hear more about.
absolutely. And even better, if you guys want to be a guest, just give us a little message, let us know, and we'll go ahead and bring you on in. And until the next time, guys, don't forget to subscribe, like, and follow. Thank you. Bye.